Today we have all the latest on guys like Jack Eichel, Vladimir Tarasenko, as well as Evander Kane situation, plus several players have filed for arbitration. We'll jump into all the latest news coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As you can see, I'm on vacation. I am not home. I am away from my recording studio. I am here in Nova Scotia in front of the beautiful Bay of Fundy, getting some rest and relaxation. It's been a grind the last couple months, and I'm still going to be putting out a few videos here from the road to give you a different perspective on things here, but obviously it's nice to get away and have a little bit of a normal vacation here for once. So getting into today's news, as I mentioned, 17 players that are restricted free agents have filed for salary arbitration. That list includes guys like Zach Aston-Reese in Pittsburgh. You got Vince Dunn in Seattle. You got Adam Pelech with the Islanders, Victor Mente with the Ottawa Senators. You've got Ross Colton in Tampa, Jason Dickinson in Vancouver, Andrew Kopp in Winnipeg, Zach Sanford in St. Louis, Zadorov with the Flames now, Varana in Detroit, UC Saros in Nashville, and several others as well. So just because players file for arbitration, it doesn't mean it's actually going to make it that far. If you're a fan of those players or those teams, do not be concerned. Teams can still negotiate a contract and get it all worked out well ahead of time before they actually have their hearing. So a high percentage of those cases get solved on their own. So we'll stay tuned for those players to get their contracts here in the coming days. Good news is because of the arbitration process, you know they're getting a deal, and it's going to happen relatively soon. Now, as I mentioned as well, there's also news on Philip Grubauer, the Seattle contract that he signed. Apparently he's been rejected by the NHL, and they have to redo the whole thing. The big problem with that is that they did not follow the front-loaded guidelines. So obviously this contract's very much front-loaded. And they have too much swinging from year to year in his salary. It's more of a 25% variance. So they have to redo that contract. I find it very surprising considering a team like Seattle has very much relied heavily on analytics. I would think they'd have capologists. And of course, Grubauer's agent would be familiar with all that. Hard to imagine they made mistakes, but either way, it has to be redone. I don't imagine it's going to cause anything to fall through, but still a fairly big issue that has to be fixed and should be able to be fixed relatively quick. Also on Evander Kane, of course, you saw my video probably last night. If you didn't, it's on the channel here. I'll link it in the YouTube cards up there. So certainly check that out. Some pretty serious allegations from his soon-to-be ex-wife. Obviously, they're having a custody issue as well as many other things, and she's basically accused him of gambling on hockey games, and not only hockey games, but games that he's played in, and throwing his games to win money from bookies to kind of settle his debts. Is really kind of a nasty scenario, and if this is proven to be true, he could end up banned from the game. And the NHL is certainly looking into all these allegations, and there's been further news on this today. He's put out some information indicating that he denies everything. He'll fully cooperate with the NHL. So Evander Kane's denied everything, says he'll cooperate fully. So obviously that is, a big deal. Obviously, if he's caught, there's major consequences. But his wife's come out also and made more accusations today, indicating that he has been working with criminals in order to kind of go card counting at casinos and scam them out of money. And it's a whole big thing. It's getting messier by the day here, and it's only going to get worse. So we're going to have to see where this goes. But it's a real ugly situation. And like I said yesterday, I want everybody to go with the premise here that you're innocent until proven guilty. So we're not going to make any assumptions on Kane, although, like I said, I know his character and his past history kind of dictates that he could be guilty of this, but that doesn't mean anything until he's proven guilty. We shouldn't assume that. Obviously, we'd like to see the NHL handle this the same as we do. We'd like to see the NHL handle the Chicago Blackhawks situation like this one, because they already launched an investigation within hours of the information hitting social media. So certainly, a big thing there, and we'll have to follow this case and see where it goes. Now, there's been some big news as well today from Dave Pagnotta, the438.com, on the Eichel situation with Buffalo. Of course, you probably saw my recent video as well with the big news there that his agents called out the Sabres. There's also a big podcast, 31 Thoughts podcast with Friedman and Jeff Merrick talking about the surgery and getting more details. They had an actual interview with one of the neurosurgeons that wants to do this procedure for Eichel and explained all the risks, the benefits, and everything, kind of laid it out a little bit more detailed. And to me, after hearing everything he had to say, it doesn't sound so risky now. It certainly looks like there's a way better long-term outlook instead of doing the fusion surgery. So essentially, just to clarify, in case you don't know, he wants artificial disc replacement surgery instead of having a fusion surgery, which is a more common procedure that we've seen with this type of issue in the past. And obviously, He's a young man, wants to resume his hockey career, and the Sabres are preventing him from getting the surgery he needs. And obviously, the other thing with this too is that it's a way faster recovery process. He said that he could be looking at, potentially anywhere from 3 to like 6, 7, 8 months for recovery with the other surgery. But this one here, he can be recovering in a matter of weeks. And like I said, if he had it today, he could be on the ice playing hockey this fall. So obviously, that kind of puts everything back into Sabres court here. This has gotten very public, very ugly, very quickly. So we'll see where this goes. But obviously, the other big thing here with this as well is that it's kind of made everything, obviously each side's kind of trying to win the publicity battle here through the media. So we'll have to see. But Dave Pagnotta is reporting that there's more teams getting in the mix here again. And there's more reports as of yesterday that the Sabres would be willing to eat some salary on that contract, which would be huge. If you get Jack Eichel at, say, 7 or 8 million, let alone 5, that's going to be incredible. So obviously he says that teams like the Rangers, the Ducks, even the Bruins, which we haven't been mentioned in a while, the Jackets are in there, obviously Vegas as well. He doesn't think Minnesota's in right now, but could jump back in with salary being retained. So obviously it's a major thing here for these teams to be getting Eichel at a discounted price. But I've seen other reports as well, and too, not believing the fact that Eichel and the Rangers is not a possibility. That even though they've made other moves, that they really would prefer to have this deal done. It's something they've been very interested in a long time, dating back to last year even. So we're going to have to see where this situation goes. But obviously, like I said here, after listening to the doctor, I'm not sure that the Sabres really have a whole lot of leverage here, and there's a lot of information that's been made public and outlined that even other teams can look into as well. And Friedman mentioned other teams have been doing their research on this surgery, even though that it hasn't been done on an NHL hockey player before. It's been done several times before. There's lots of history on this surgery, just not on a pro hockey player. And he even referenced that there's been other hockey players, just nobody at this level, that have had the surgery and have been fine. Like the recovery rates and the stats on it are very positive. So obviously that's somewhat reassuring in that regard. But I tell you, things are getting nasty here. With the Sabres and GM Kevin Adams was talking, he basically said, we control the process, we're not in any rush. And they basically said, you know what, the process isn't working, so you might want to control it. But because of that, we can't get a deal done. We wanted a deal done here by the start of free agency, if not sooner. And this is not really something that we want to see happen here. So obviously, it's a big deal. So they need to get something done, and hopefully the Eichel situation can be resolved soon so everybody can move forward. Now, the other big thing that came out today was on the New York Islanders, also from Dave Pagnotta of the fourthperiod.com. The Islanders have been eerily quiet, but this shouldn't be shocking to anybody, especially anybody who knows Lou Lamoriello and how he operates. He keeps everything incredibly secretive. Obviously, it looks as though that, based on what Dave's saying, that there's a lot of deals already on handshake agreements. Handshake agreements would be like Zach Parise, Kyle Palmieri, Travis Zajac. Those are the 3 names he's mentioned that are likely already have deals worked out. They're just not official yet. He's also having discussions with Casey Cizikas. Don't know if there's a deal done, but there's certainly a reason why Cizikas isn't showing any interest in talking to other teams. Don't you think he wants to get paid? This is probably going to be his last big contract. And if he wasn't going to be able to get it done with the Islanders, he had opportunities and he passed them up. So obviously, I think it's pretty safe to say Cizikas will be back too. But there's also other moves that are rumored to be in the works here. Of course, Adam Pelech is going to arbitration. You have to wonder about a guy like Ryan Pulock. He's due for an extension. They could start those talks on that as well soon. So see where that goes. But the big one here is we know that they want to add another scoring forward besides Palmieri. They're trying to free up some more cap space. Guys like Leo Komarov and Thomas Hickey would be great if they could move them to free up some additional space. And of course, if they do pull off a trade, at least one player off the roster is going to have to go out. It could be, even a guy like Josh Bailey. There's been a lot of talk. It could be Beauvillier, but there are some that believe Bailey could be the one to go to it. And there's been some talk that Pagnotta's mentioned here that they're still interested in Tarasenko, not given that they're going to do that deal, but they're still kind of talking and trying to figure it out. But they're all moving on to other options too. Like, they seem like they're interested in multiple players. I know there was some links to Johnny Gaudreau before. I don't know if that's anywhere in the mix now, because obviously with the new season technically kicking under our way here with the calendar change to July, from July to August, and the new season for contracts, he has a partial no trade clause, and I don't know if they would be on his list or not. So it's really difficult to say if Johnny Gaudreau is really going anywhere anytime soon. That's a debatable call. But when it comes to other players around the league, there's not a ton of scoring wingers that are reportedly available or looking for a move now. Like I said, besides Gaudreau, you got Monahan and the Islanders situation, but obviously Monahan's a player that would be maybe traded by the Flames if they get Eichel. So, like, for example, some of the other players that we've seen for centers on the market, like Monahan, like Ryan Strome, for example, and even Adam Henrique in Anaheim. They're all players that would need to be moved by those teams to free up the room to take Eichel on, even at a discounted rate. And obviously, that's going to be problematic. The Sabres might not want those guys, but I know that, like, for example, the Senators have been linked to multiple top 6 potential center icemen. All 3 of those names have come up, and I think it's going to be a case of they may not want to move those guys unless they can get Eichel. So it's a case where they're probably talking to Ottawa, but maybe making a move. But if they can secure an Eichel trade, then we might see one of those other centers flipped over to them to free up the money if they can't work it out directly with the Sabres, because there's been trade talk around all of them. And it makes sense that, the Buffalo Sabres wants mostly picks and prospects. The only way to really satisfy that need is to have a third team broker the deal by taking another player, retaining salary, or something to that effect. So obviously we'll have to wait and see what happens here. But the Flames are another team that reportedly, like according to Pagnota today, that are in on Eichel, which is surprising. But obviously if he brought Eichel into Calgary, then, I would think Brad Treliving would have a much better chance of keeping Johnny Gaudreau. Obviously Matthew Tkachuk, that could be a good fit, but it would be tough to pull off. I'm not sure what all the Flames would have to give to the Sabres to make them happy. They do have some younger players that they might have to part with. We might be talking Dubé, Mangiapane, maybe multiple first-round picks. I'm not sure. Maybe Valimaki. I'm not sure what all they'd want. They have some decent pieces there, but I just don't know that they have as strong as package as some of the other teams that are in there. I think the one team we can safely say is out for sure is LA now, but everybody else that's been in, according to Pagnota, they're still in. They're just waiting for the price to change. And with the news about salary retention, that's getting them kind of perking up their ears. But the problem with salary retention, they keep money. That means they want more in return, puts the price up. So, and the Sabres side of things, they think that's a smart move in order to get more of a return because they're not afraid to spend the money. They just want the best return. So we'll see what happens, but obviously that's your update for today. Of course, like I said, there's still going to be regular videos coming here on the channel. You're going to see videos from the road over the next, probably most of this week up until like probably Saturday, maybe Friday. Obviously, I'm going to be away the whole week here, kind of trying to have some fun with the family, relax a little bit, charge back up, and kind of enjoy the rest of summer here a little bit as things kind of start to wind down in the crazy, crazy offseason that we've had here. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We will keep you up to date with all the latest news and rumors on all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching from Digby, Nova Scotia. I'll catch you next time.